Good morning, YouTube. Well, it seems that in any emergency, the first thing that goes out is the power. Seems to be our most fragile utility. You hear about more power outages than you hear about, for instance, water shortages, water main breaks, etc. So when the power goes out, the first thing that we generally think about is a generator. And that's reasonable, but generators need fuel, and then you have to deal with the fact that fuel is in short supply during an emergency. So it doesn't take long before solar power starts entering the picture. So today I'm going to show you how to build a small solar system, about 100 watts, expandable. It's good for use in emergencies. It's good for use on an off-grid cabin. You might find it useful for camping, for car camping for sure, for camping with a small RV, maybe providing power to recharge tool batteries or provide lights to a small shed. There's quite a few reasons that you might want this, and if you're here because you followed the link, you have probably thinking of your own reasons. So you're watching Northwest Prepared, where I am preparing to survive the aftermath of the worst natural disaster to strike the United States. And in doing so, I'm making videos about my progress and my journey to help you also prepare. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, the first thing you're going to need is a solar panel. About 100 watts seems to be about the right size. There are many makers of these solar panels. Renogy, Rich Solar. This one is made by HQST. To be honest, they're all about the same. Should cost you about $84. I think that's what I paid for this one about a year ago, and I'm finally making the video. Make sure you get a panel with an aluminum frame, not the flexible or bendable panels. Those have been having some longevity problems. Now, the next thing you need is a solar charge controller. These things are made by the SCAD loads in China and are shipped over by the shipload, and you'll find them all over Amazon and eBay. Everybody sells them. They're all the same. They are all exactly the same device. Find a good price on a device from someone you can trust. These come in a couple of different varieties. A lot of them come pre-programmed for particular battery chemistry. So get the one that matches the chemistry of your batteries. Also, they come in 10, 20, and 30 amp varieties. The 10 amp one will more than handle the 100 watt panel that we have. However, the 20 amp controller will handle 2 panels and allow for expansion of the system, and it costs less than $1 to go from the 10 amp controller to the 20. Or buy the 30 amp controller if you want. It's just barely $1 more. Now, this is plastic, and the mounting holes are drilled in this plastic flange on the side of the charge controller, and I don't trust this little bit of plastic here to hold the charge controller. So I glued a couple of washers on the sides here over 2 of the holes to reinforce the mounting point. Now, there's a couple other things we need. You'll need an MC4 adapter. The solar panel has MC4 connectors on it, and these don't plug into the controller. You need a pigtail. Now, I salvaged these off of a broken solar panel. You can also order them off of Amazon and eBay. The other thing is you need to be able to connect to your battery, and for that I have this double SAE. It's called an SAE extension cord. I believe this one there's a good look at the SAE connector. I believe this cable is between 6 and 12 feet long. You want to get it fairly long so you can attach it to a, well, you'll see when we get to the application and I show you the quick application for it. Now, SAE connectors may seem like an odd choice for a connector, but you can buy accessories such as these alligator clips with an SAE connector on them. You can buy other accessories like cigarette lighter plugs, as well as ring terminals and other kinds of connectors to connect to your battery. And so what we want to do is we want to begin getting these wires prepared. So we're going to unroll a couple of turns of the SAE cable. You want to make sure you get about at least 14 gauge on these things to handle the current, depending upon the length. A good 14 gauge cable. Now let's get the covers off of these. Put that further up there, because the SAE cable also doesn't plug in here, so we're going to have to cut one of these off. And to determine which one we're going to cut off, we're going to line up this, and let's see what we got here. Let's see, here's the red lead, and we follow that down, and on this one it's connected to the black lead. On this one, yeah, the red lead now comes through here, through the long connector, through the short connector, and into the red lead. So this is the correct way to hook up that. And so this end, let's unroll this. Let's get the wire cutter and cut this off. And we're going to leave. We're not going to cut it off right here at the connector and throw this connector away. We are going to try to save a few inches of the connector so that we can, in the future, splice this. This becomes a spare part. We can splice this onto something else. So, let's see, put this aside for now as well. And continuing on with the modifications of this cable, we will take a bit of a, let's make sure that we're in the camera frame. We're going to start this, split this back a ways, strip it, try not to nick the conductors. The trick is to just make gentle take gentle little bites. All right, well, we got through that. All right, now what I do, this is totally optional. Okay, let's hold that in place while we now... See, a lot of times you see people tinning wires and they're trying to hold the soldering iron. You don't have to hold the soldering iron. Just hold the, just put the iron on the bench, hold the wire in one hand, the solder in the other, and just do the soldering job. There we go. And hopefully these wires are not too heavy a gauge to fit into the connections on the charge controller. I have not tried them to see. Let's see, well, now comes the moment of truth. Let's see, we'll need a screwdriver. Let's see, this is the battery connections, minus on the right. And they're a little tight. Factory tighten these things down a bit. Let's just open those up. All right, the black wire is minus. Let's see, is it going to go in? Yes, it is. Not yet. One thing happens is when you tin the wires, you tend to get a little ball on the end, and the wires also tend to end up with just a little too much wire exposed. So we're going to trim those back. Nothing ever quite goes exactly the way you want it to. There's always something happening. Yeah, now that's opened up enough. There we go. Let's see now. This goes in there? Yes, it does. And this goes in there. Good. Let's get the negative wire clamped down. There it is. Let's clamp them down. And let's get the positive wire clamped down. Get that in there. There we go. All right. And they're good. There's the other end. Now, if we connect our clip leads, and we're ready to connect to a battery. All right. In a similar fashion, we are going to prepare the MC4 connectors to connect to the solar panel. So, we're going to hook these up. We're going to hook these up the same way we did that. I will get back to you when I'm done. Well, I'm glad I sent you guys away while I did those MC4 connectors. They are much heavier gauge wire and much more horrendous to deal with. So, anyways, there is the charge controller all hooked up. I've got the MC4 pigtails connected to the solar input, and I've got this long SAE cable on the output. So, let's go get it mounted to the solar panel. Alright, time for the final assembly. We're going to mount the solar charge controller here using a couple of S-hooks like this. It means we're going to have to drill some holes in the panel frame here. And we're going to go through the holes of the charge controller that we reinforced. That way the solar charge controller is always with your solar panel. Now, very important, let's see, we're going to need a couple of S-hooks. We're going to need a couple of S-hooks, a couple of pairs of pliers, Sharpie marker, and you notice I'm not throwing my tools down on the back of the solar panel. I'm putting them on this board here. And the most important thing, we're going to be drilling holes, so you need a scrap of wood you can slide underneath the panel here so that when you drill, your drill doesn't break through the panel and then slam into the back of the active surface of the solar panel. You can destroy your $84 panel very easily that way, so you don't want to do that. So, let's see, we want to put this thing somewhere right in about here somewhere, so somewhere about there. Of course, this is a little bit harder to do with the right there and right about there, right there and right there. You're also going to want to prop up the solar panel. And to do that, you know, if you can find an old camera tripod at a thrift store, that'd be a great way to do it. Otherwise, a wooden stick could work. Not a whole lot. Don't have to get too fancy with it. As luck would have it, the battery on my portable drill is dead, so I'm using my old plug-in drill for this. That breakthrough I was telling you about, and we had the fuel was trying to walk. Alright, and since we're drilling holes, let's drill one I'm going to go with the next one. I'm just going to put it right here, dead center on the top of the panel. There we go. Let's see how that works. That'll work. Alright. That's it for drilling holes. Let's throw away the... Alright, let's get everything mounted up and we'll be ready to go. Use the pliers to open up the S-hooks. Notice how we're orienting the S-hooks. There we go. And then let's close the S-hooks. I think I need a bigger pair of pliers for this. That works. And let's close this one too. There we are. Let's get that little metal shaving out of there. And let's mount this. Real easy. I'll let you so you can see it over there. Just the S-hook. Oh, how about that? I got too big of an S-hook. Yeah. Let me see for a second, because it's okay. Just closing it up. Oh, I see what happened. When I tested the S-hooks, I went through the unreinforced mounting hole, but now that I'm trying to go through the reinforced mounting hole, that one goes, this one doesn't. Interesting. Alright, let's try again. There we go. And okay. Are we going here or not? Okay, come on, there you go. Look, don't jump out after I put you in. There you are. Now, some of you will correctly note that some companies like Renogy make a portable solar panel setup that has the charge controller attached to it with a hinge. And Renogy's not the only one. Anyway, so there's that. Let's go set it up. See how it works. So as I was saying, Renogy and a couple others make portable solar panels that have the charge controller mounted on a hinge. And with these S-hooks, I'm just doing the same thing. And you see that by mounting the S-hooks this way, the solar charge controller can lay back down pretty close to being against the panel there. Alright, let's carry this over into the yard and grab an old battery that I've got and set this sucker up. Well, wouldn't you know it, it's a nice sunny day. I go to test out a solar panel and the sun goes and hides behind a cloud. Anyway, what you're looking at is the basic setup. We have the charge controller hanging off its S-hooks here. I have this old tripod that at a thrift store. The camera mounting screw is goes through that one hole that I put in right there. And let's connect the battery and see if the charge controller fires up. I should say fire when we're... And the battery I've got, and it does, 10.3 volts. I've got this old battery. It's about 7 amp hours, which is kind of small for this. So maybe it's a good maybe it's a good thing that the sun is gone, because I won't be generating that much power. So we're going to plug in the MC4 connectors and see what happens. Ah, okay, pretty cool. It says we got 14.4. Let's see, it says the load is on. Let's turn the load off. There we are. Okay, it says 14.4. It says we're charging, but it doesn't say by how much. Alright, so there's a close-up of the charge controller. You can see that it's showing an arrow from the solar panel to the battery. The battery is not blinking, indicating it's not getting a charge. Well, the sun's about to break out from behind the cloud, so we'll see what happens. But the 14.4 volts indicates the battery is charging. So here we are at a little bit bigger setup. Again, showing the versatility of the setup. I've got the same setup with the solar panel propped up against the tripod. The sun has actually come out, and we can see that we are charging a battery at 14.4 volts. And the reason I told you to get a really long SAE cable to attach to the battery, yeah, because you may have a distance to go, and you may have to park your solar panel and your vehicle a bit of a distance apart to get optimal sun exposure for the panel. So at this point, you've got a solar panel connected to the battery of your car. Some of you might be going, so whoop, so yeah, that's great. Well, yeah, it is. Now, so imagine you're car camping, or the power is out, and it's going to be out for a while. The solar panel is going to keep the car battery from going dead, and that means you can use the power ports in your car to plug in things like this, or if you really want to get serious, something like this. See, it drops into a cup holder, and it provides you with 2 USB ports and 2 more power ports. Like I said, it plugs into this power port of your car. That gives you a pretty good selection of ports to charge your devices, charge your rechargeable flashlights and lanterns, and with the solar panel maintaining the battery, you don't have to worry about running down the car battery or starting up the car to recharge the battery and burning up valuable gasoline. This video is running a bit long, so I'm not going to talk too much more. Certainly having a standalone battery or a battery in a box would be a better system, as you wouldn't be tethered to your vehicle. But it is what it is for now, and it's a good start. And at this point, between the solar panel, the charge controller, and the wiring, I've maybe got $110 into the entire project. That's a fairly cheap investment to make sure you've got unlimited power to keep your devices charged and get you through a blackout. Hey, I'm Gordon Reeder, and you've been watching Northwest Prepared. Share the article with anybody that could use it. Hit subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified of new videos. And thank you for watching. This has been Northwest Prepared. And remember, always be ready.